Your latest Storm 5 forecast is just a click away. Visit newschannel5.com.
Good evening, I'm Bob Schieffer, reporting tonight from Washington, where one of America's most senior cardinals offered Mass today for Pope John Paul II. We'll devote much of our broadcast to the Pope, and we'll hear from these correspondents.
An American cardinal is called to the bedside of his dying friend. I'm Richard Roth with that story tonight from the Vatican.
Prayers for a peaceful passing. I'm Jim Axelrod with reaction from America's Catholics.
Consumers looking for justice can get a big surprise. I'm John Blackstone with what you lose in the fine print.
Who would fake being a Medal of Honor recipient? I'm Jim Stewart, and believe it or not, hundreds have.
This is the CBS Evening News with Bob Schieffer reporting tonight from Washington.
Catholics around the world are praying tonight for the Pope, but it appears his time is growing very short. The news from the Vatican today just seemed to grow worse by the hour as his condition deteriorated. The faithful are keeping a vigil in St. Peter's Square tonight. We're going to begin our coverage with CBS News correspondent Alan Pizzi in Rome.
E dello Spirito Santo.
At an early evening ceremony to say the Rosary in St. Peter's Square, Monsignor Angelo Canastri told the crowd, "This evening or tonight, Christ will throw open the gates to the Pope." As the hours dragged on, thousands came to pray and remember and mourn the imminent passing of John Paul II.
I was just standing there. I couldn't even sit down or anything, just standing there for half an hour crying, and it really hurts.
The presence of the faithful was one reason why the Pope had refused to go to the hospital, choosing instead to stay in the Vatican, even though he had been told of the gravity of his medical condition. The reports of John Paul II's deteriorating health came out sporadically: shortness of breath, falling blood pressure, kidney failure, worse by the hour. At the Polish church in Rome, the faithful who came to pray for their most beloved countryman could barely contain their emotions. So much public grief was both understandable and perhaps appropriate for John Paul II. Not only did he make his own decline and suffering public, this is the first time details of a pope's final hours have ever been made so public. The Vatican insisted it was hiding nothing. When the Pope died, they would admit it. The Pope's normally unflappable spokesman, Joaquin Navarro-Valls, showed the strain. So too did various news media. Over the course of the evening, John Paul was said to be unconscious. Another report had his brain having ceased to function. One agency even declared him dead. Instead, the man who faced an assassin, broken bones, operations, and Parkinson's disease held on. Facing death, his closest confidant said, with serenity.
Tens of thousands are holding a silent vigil in St. Peter's Square tonight, and the Vatican press office will remain open until it announces the death of John Paul II. A fitting tribute to a man who wanted the world to learn from how he faced the troubles that life brings to us all in some form. Bob?
You know, Alan, normally the Vatican is rather secretive. It seems to me they've been very transparent on this. They've more or less kept us informed, have they not?
This is absolutely unprecedented, Bob. Usually the Pope's in perfect health until he's dead. We've heard every gasp all along, and that's because that's the way John Paul II wants it. He wanted everybody to see that suffering is what comes with life, that all life has value. That was his message throughout his papacy, and that's his message right up into the end.
Thank you very much, Alan. Among those keeping a vigil for the Pope at the Vatican is a Polish-American who was once Archbishop of Detroit and probably knows the Pope better than any American. Richard Roth now with that.
The Vatican's working day had just begun when Cardinal Edmund Sciocca was called from his office to John Paul's apartment, a short walk from here through the papal palace to the bedside of his dying friend.
The Pope was perfectly lucid, and as soon as he saw me, he recognized me. He couldn't speak, but with his eyes in his head, you know, he bowed and so forth. And I knelt down next to his bed and kissed his hand, and I prayed there for a while. But he was having a great deal of trouble breathing. His breathing was very difficult, very labored.
Minutes before 10 o'clock, Sciocca rose to leave.
I blessed him, and as I did, he tried to make the sign of the cross.
Inside the Pope's apartment, Polish nuns and 3 doctors hovered at John Paul's bedside, administering oxygen as Sciocca walked out.
I was very sad. I was sad to see him suffering. I felt very sad to see him having such difficulty breathing.
As governor of the Vatican, Shoko